Psalm 119, 113 to 120. This is Samekh. I hate the double-minded, but I love your law. You are my hiding place and my shield. I hope in your word. Depart from me, you evildoers, that I may keep the commandments of my God. Uphold me according to your promise, that I may live, and let me not be put to shame in my hope. Hold me up, that I may be safe and have regard for your statutes continually. You spurn all who go astray from your statutes, for their cunning is in vain. All the wicked of the earth you discard like dross. Therefore I love your testimonies. My flesh trembles for fear of you, and I am afraid of your judgments. In this passage, what jumped out at me was this almost like a ping pong match, this kind of going back and forth between two primary ideas that are repeated here. The first idea has to do with a recognition of, or a sort of signaling the wicked ones, those who are far from God, who are separated from God, and the psalmist's perspective on those, and really sort of a contrast between the psalmist and the evildoer. For example, well, let me walk you through those briefly. Psalm 113 says, I hate the double-minded, but I love your law. So an acknowledgement of the double-minded, or those who are wicked, the evildoers. And I don't want to be with those, but I do want to be with your word. Verse 115, depart from me, you evildoers, that I may keep the commandments of my God. So there again, acknowledgement of the evildoers. In the first verse, 113, we have double-minded. Here we have evildoers saying, oh, away from me. That's not, I don't want your influence in my life. I don't want your distraction. I want to keep the commandments of God. And then again, verse 118, you spurn all who go astray from your statutes, for their cunning is in vain. So those who go astray from God's statutes. And the description here is that all of their planning, their plotting, their conspiring will come to nothing. It will be like dust. It will be like smoke that's blown away in the wind. Though it might seem consequential at the moment, it's not going to last. And then the last example of this in verse 119, all the wicked of the earth you discard like dross. Therefore I love your testimonies. So now it's describing them as the wicked of the earth. So we've got the double-minded, the evildoers, those who go astray, and now the wicked of the earth. And here it describes that God discards them. Their ultimate end is destruction. And here the psalmist says that's a reason for my love for you. And that might sound strange, but what we have to understand is those who are under the reign of Satan, those who are in the kingdom of darkness, even though they may be our friends, and those who are close to us, close relations, even in this life, and we do pray for the conversion and we share the gospel with them. But at the end of the day, those who are in the kingdom of darkness are opposed to those who are in the kingdom of light. And when they are finally and fully pressed, their desire will be the destruction of God and all those who are his. But what will happen is that God will destroy them. God will cast them away. They will be separated from all that is good. But here's the nugget that I want to take with me today. And this is a verse that I've memorized in the past. Um, that is it's helpful to me. It's verse 120. It says, "My flesh trembles for fear of you, and I am afraid of your judgments." Now that might seem like a strange verse to want to remember, to know, to memorize, to meditate upon. But for me, it's been helpful in my life because um, we ought to fear the Lord. We're told that over and over in the scriptures, and those who love God and walk with God and who are blessed by God and who are far from evil, those people are the ones who fear the Lord. Now, of course, it's not the same sort of fear as uh, a child might fear a monster. That's not the same kind of fear, though there is an aspect of it that is true. And the aspect is that we tremble at the thought of that person because of their great power and our great helplessness in their presence. Now the difference is a monster intends evil for us. Our God intends good. So our flesh, we tremble for fear of God, yet he is a good and gracious and merciful God. And I am afraid of your judgments. And here, this word judgments, it's talking about God's word in general, and specifically those things that threaten judgment. We ought to tremble when we read of the covenant of works and those consequences that God lays out in his word for those who go astray. For we do indeed go astray. We have broken his laws. And that, of course, ought to push us once again to remember the gospel and to cling to Christ. So our flesh trembles for fear of you, and I am afraid of your judgments. And that verse causes us to fear the Lord and then to rejoice once again in the glorious gospel.